This is Lightning Power Lunch, presented by Reef Rum on the Lightning Audio Network with Dave Mishkin and Greg Linnelli.
Take out 7 regulars. Of course, there's going to be a little bit of effect, but if you ask me the question now, versus the beginning of the game, like looking at the way the game went, there were so many things I really liked about our team and our compete and all the things that went on, and it was amazing how many unfortunate bounces went against us. And I felt bad for the guys. You felt for them because they were working and off a stick, top corner, off a foot, in the net. Did I love some of the penalties we took? No. Did I love some of the turnovers we made? I didn't. But those weren't made from any of the guys that were new to the game or, new to us. And that was probably the frustrating part for me was, that part. But, in the end, play that game 10 more times, I feel like we're in a little better spot than we are now. So, hey, it's you play 82 of these babies, and sometimes you're not going to have your team. Actually, it happens a lot, and you have to fight your way through it. And we fought our way through it. We just, there was another level of force out there that was just wasn't our night.
Yeah, I think another example, a reminder that injuries oftentimes can be a great equalizer, and in an 82-game season, it's very hard to have your best game in and game out. I think a lot of people understand it, but it goes back to even 60-minute games, as we discussed. It's a challenge. To play really well for 82 straight is hard to do, and John Cooper kind of admitted, he felt if they played this game a few more times, the outcome would be different. We can get into that and anything else he said. It is Power Lunch on Lightning Radio. Dave Mishkin is on that side. I am Greg Linnelli. Steve Erstnick's our producer at Bolts Radio. Fluky, I think in some ways, is a good way to describe the game last night. There certainly were some unfortunate bad bounces, I think, that took place early on. We saw a hit to Brandon Hagel that has been heavily debated on X. We touched on it during the last call that we can get into today. We saw Andrei Vasilevsky get pulled starting the third period, which I've got to think is in some ways to be ready to go this weekend and specifically on Saturday, but I could be wrong. And we saw maybe the lines, I'm hesitant to say the third and fourth lines because I don't want to offend anybody, but I feel like the bottom two lines for Tampa Bay showed pretty well, and some regulars that you rely on struggled a bit. And you compound that with the Rangers came in playing pretty well. We know on the road they've been very good. And I don't want to say it was a perfect storm, but you can kind of see how maybe this game unfolded the way they did. Partner, we've seen a lot of Lightning games. I don't recall Vasi taking on or experiencing as many bad bounces that he did, including one where he just kind of fell moving laterally, but it did, and maybe was that just kind of one of those nights for the Lightning?
Well, it was going to be a tough game, which we detailed on yesterday's show, given the fact that we didn't know that Cirelli was going to be out, but we suspected maybe he would be. He was out. So that's 6 of, you want to call them regulars. Coop called them regulars. I mean, at this point, James is a regular. He was out. Paul hasn't been in the lineup all year, but he is a regular. And then they lose Hagel fairly early in the game. And that is a very disconcerting situation because if it's a concussion, and we don't know if it's a concussion, it may have been precautionary. But
right.
We knew that he had a concussion in the playoffs last year and a fairly severe one. We don't know if he had a concussion from the Greer sucker punch in the preseason, but we know that he left that game and didn't return and, took some time, certainly, because he didn't play in the final preseason game. Concussions are one of those injuries where it is, the more you get, the more easily you can get them, basically. So there is a cumulative element to it. So hopefully he's okay. Apparently he was, smiling and joking around in the locker room afterward as the Lightning awarded pucks to Finley and Douglas. A very memorable night for them.
Very cool. Good for them.
So, basically for the game, the Lightning were without 7 of their regulars. Did that have no effect? I think it had an effect. I mean, if you had Ryan McDonagh in the game, I think that would have had a positive impact. If you had Anthony Cirelli in the game, I think that would have had a positive impact. If you had Victor Hedman in the game, that would have had a positive impact. Dominic James has positively impacted every game in which he has played. So just to say that it had no bearing at all, I think is closing your eyes and really not understanding that the Lightning might have had a better showing had some of their regulars gone in. But what John Cooper said is right. The guys that came in played extremely hard. I started my extra shift basically writing the Lightning played hard, but they didn't always play smart. And not playing smart hurt them, along with some bad breaks that were part of what happened, particularly early in the game. So, we knew going in the Rangers are a good road team, excellent road team, great defensive team overall, and especially on the road. And while their power play struggled and they've struggled to score goals, Trocheck is back now. So with Trocheck back, they've scored 13 goals in the last 2 games. He had 2 last night. He was not on their number 1 power play, which has struggled, but, he is a very, very good offensive player. Mm-hmm. And you would figure that with the talent they have on the power play, it's not going to stay near the bottom of the standings forever. So what do the Lightning do in the opening minute? They take an unnecessary penalty. Yanni Gourde, he even said it was a bad penalty. He doesn't need to take that penalty. He cross-checks Fox in the neutral zone. Now you put the Rangers in the power play. We knew the Rangers are a very good face-off team. The Lightning have not been a good face-off team. They lose the face-off. Rangers get 3 shot attempts, all miss the net. But the third one misses the net. Pinballs right back in front to Cooley. He makes a good play, settling that puck down to get it in a position to shoot. But I guarantee you, if Adam Fox takes that shot 100 times, the puck does not come directly, and it was deflected by Chernak. So if we're going to give Adam Fox 100 shots that deflect off Chernak that way, I'm pretty confident saying probably 95 of them are not coming to Cooley right off the end wall like that. But look, they got to bounce. They got to bounce. And you lose the faceoff. You put them on the power play. You're playing with, you're giving them a chance to get a bounce, basically. And they did what they needed to do to get the early lead. Second goal against Kucherov. Cross-ice pass in the neutral zone. Zibanejad is a very smart player. Intercepts the puck. Now you're scrambling, coming back defensively. It's kind of a sort of an odd man rush. I would say it is an odd man rush because Destu has to turn around and try and get back in the play, and he's not quite there. And Rangers get another bounce. Zibanejad throws it in front. It hits Chernak's skate and hits JT Miller's skate and goes in the net. So again, if Zibanejad makes that pass, let's say 20 times, where Chernak is back defensively tying up Miller, how many times does it go in the net? Maybe 19 times out of 20 doesn't go in the net.
Yeah.
Off a skate. Miller doesn't even get a stick on it. He's being defended. So the Rangers got a bounce, but why did they get a bounce? Lightning had an unnecessary neutral zone turnover that opened the door for the Rangers to make a play.
Which happened too often, by the way, yes.
And or at the very least, it happened when it happened. The mistakes were magnified because the Lightning got burned by them. I mean, the Rangers only had 49 total shot attempts. So it's not like the Lightning were just a turnover machine. So they get 1 goal back on a very memorable goal with Sabourin scoring it. His 3rd career NHL goal, his 1st goal in the NHL since February of 2020, right before the league shut down due to COVID. And on that play, both Douglas and Finley get their first NHL points. Congratulations to them.
Pretty cool.
Then we have the play with Soucy and Hagel. We can get into that later, but let's just say that, it was a hit that knocked Hagel out of the game, and the Lightning gave up an odd man. Going back the other way, Phil thought this one was on Vasilevsky. I will say it is an odd man. Lafreniere is on his weak side. He's got a great shooting angle. Panarin makes a fantastic pass there to get it across. Lafreniere is in the clear, and he shoots above the pad. We've talked about this as a spot where goalies in today's day and age are susceptible because they go down in the butterfly. That shot from Lafreniere is going far side. It hits the top of Vasilevsky's pad and deflects into the top of the net. Should he have had it? Phil thought yes. I think that is a tough save on an odd man. But of the 4 goals that the Rangers scored in the first, the other 3 Vasilevsky really had nothing to do with. That one, he got a piece of it. It went in. All right. Lightning battle back. They have a very hard-working shift in the offensive zone with Gord, Bjorkstrand, and Gergensons. Bjorkstrand did most of the work to win the puck, takes a shot, the rebound comes to Gergensons, he puts it in. Now it's 3-2. But then Bjorkstrand had his fingerprints on the 4th Ranger goal where he fails to get the puck out. Mm-hmm. And Borgen makes a pretty good play. If you watch the replay, like Bjorkstrand thinks he's going to backhand it off the boards and shovel it out, and Borgen gets a piece of it to hold it in. That's a mistake. That puck needed to get out. It didn't. But the Rangers get another break. Borgen walks to the high slot, takes a shot. It hits off Dastu's stick. Could have hit off the stick and went wide. It could have hit off the stick and gone over the crossbar. It could have not hit the stick, and Vasilevsky is in position to make the save. Hits the stick and goes right under the bar. That's the 3rd bad break the Lightning have had on a goal against, and to the extent that you said it was one of those nights where Coop said it and you agreed, I also agree. It was one of those nights. Now it's 4-2. Lightning take another penalty. Again, it was Gord. But this time the Lightning score their first shorthanded goal of the year. I thought Gensel was one of the Lightning players who played extremely well. He had a shorthanded breakaway. He finishes. So this great Rangers defensive team, they gave up 3 goals. They gave up a breakaway to Gensel. They gave up an odd man to Sabarin, right, where he makes a great finish. And they got outworked on a shift and didn't pick up Gergensons on a rebound. So to say that the Rangers played an A-plus game, I don't think is accurate. But they took advantage of the opportunities they got. They got some bounces. And after the first period, Shesterkin slammed the door. I think the Rangers might have done a slightly better job to limiting the high danger chances once we got into the second period. But the Lightning were in the game. Like, it's 4-3. You're a shot away from tying things up. And the Lightning started the second period really pressing on the Rangers and leaning on the Rangers. I think at one point shots were 10-2 or 11-2 in favor of the Lightning. They got a power play. They couldn't score on it. Shesterkin was making good saves. I'm not sure they had the quality of the chances that maybe they had in the first period, but it stayed 4-3. And as we passed the halfway point, Phil and I said to each other, you just get the feeling the next goal in this game is going to be a huge goal. 4-4 or 5-3. What's it going to be? And it did turn out to be a huge goal. And this one is mostly on Vasilevsky. I mean, it's a 3-on-3. The Lightning had 3 players shifted to one side of the ice, which opened Trocheck up. But Trocheck's on his strong side. I wouldn't even say that that's really a scoring chance. Unlike the Lafreniere one, where Lafreniere is closer, he's on his offside, he's got a great angle to shoot. Vasilevsky tries to move from his right to his left and stumbles. I don't think we've ever seen that happen before with Vasilevsky in the net, ever. How long has he been in the NHL? Made his debut in the 2014-15 season.
Yeah.
So that was a very weird circumstance. And even falling, the puck might have hit him. It didn't. It slid through him. 5-3. And I thought at that point the Rangers really grabbed control of momentum. And they added a 6th goal early in the third. And that was basically it. I mean, the Lightning had a lot of shot attempts in the third period. A lot of those came late when they got a power play and pulled the goalie for 6-on-4. But they really didn't get a lot of shots on net from it. I mean, they finished with 12 in the third period. They had 33 shot attempts in the third period. And at that point, the game was, if not over, I mean, it was going to be a tall order for the Lightning to get back in the game. So, again, they worked hard. Like, there's no question. They put on their work boots after dealing with some tough circumstances early in the game where they had some bad breaks. They made some costly mistakes. They were shorthanded. They lose Hagel. They're down 2 goals 3 separate times in the first period, and they battle back 3 separate times to make it a 1-goal game. I think that's why Coop said in the open that, you know, he loved the compete, but they couldn't get the game tied, and once it became 5-3, I think they lost a little bit of the starch from their game. And the Rangers like, okay, now we got this. And they settled in and did a much better job, honestly, defensively in the third period, but also they had the wind at their back, right? So, hopefully the Lightning get healthy. I think that what we heard from Coop is not wrong. What you said yourself, the third and fourth lines maybe kind of led the way for the Lightning. And that's a positive sign, but also it's not a positive sign. In a game where you're missing that many regulars, I think you need your top guys to kind of set the table for you.
Sure.
And really, other than Gensel, I'm not sure the Lightning got that. And so, I mean, we both gave a lot of reasons why the game ended up the way that it did. If they played that game, like Coop said, 20 times, might there have been a different outcome? Possibly. I mean, all of those breaks the Rangers got on, especially on their first period goals, might not have gone in. The Lightning's compete was high. They out-attempted the Rangers 79-49, and not all that came late in the third period when the game was out of reach. But, I mean, we kind of go back to it. If you're giving up 4 goals in the first period, you are going to be chasing. And it was not ideal. I would have rather have seen the Lightning play tied or ahead based on kind of their depleted roster. But that's not the way it unfolded. So, it's an L. Does it matter if you lose 4-3 or 7-3? Not really. You gotta pick yourself up and get ready for a very tough game on Saturday. I don't care that the Panthers have gotten off to a tough start. I mean, that is going to be a very tough game. They play tonight against Washington, so they will have returned home from their West Coast trip. And, the Lightning are going to have to find a way to bounce back and ultimately defend better. Turnovers and coverage. They gave the Rangers too much space when the Rangers had a chance to make plays, and the Rangers made them pay for it.
In fairness, and by the way, tough week, not just a tough game coming up, a tough week for the Lightning. So they need to kind of put this behind them, regroup here and say, okay,
with the
let's
injuries,
focus.
you mean? Is that
But the quality of opponents coming up.
Yeah.
And I think they have some good teams coming up here that's, you're going to have to be on it a little bit. Now, look, I am not one to make excuses, but you have your 2 best defensemen out of the game. You have your number 2 centerman out of the game. You have Brandon Hagel basically out of the game.
Mm-hmm.
And you have a young player who has proved to be pretty dynamite out of the game. That's going to hurt. I mean, that's just how it is. That's how it goes. The flip side of that is you get 2 goals from your third and fourth line, you should win a game. I mean, Sabrin comes in, scores. I mean, what a shot.
Yeah,
Did anybody
great
have
shot.
that? Did anybody have that on their bingo card? No. And then followed by Gergensons.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I mean, back to – I understand there's stuff that happened in between. But you get 2 goals from those 2 guys. It's kind of like in baseball. If your 5th starter goes in and pitches 6 innings, gives up 2 runs against maybe one of the best hitting lineups in baseball, you feel like you should win that game. That's a good effort. But there were some other circumstances involved. I actually thought Boris Kachuk looked good.
Did you hear Coop's post-game comment?
I did.
I'm sure you did.
We played it on the last call.
He called Kachuk maybe the Lightning's best player.
You know what stood out? He didn't look out of place playing with Kucherov, and he made one play, and I don't know if you remember this one, partner, on the far boards, about 5 minutes to go in the first period, cross-ice pass on the tape to, believe it was Kucherov, who then got it over to Gonsalves.
Yeah, that was
stopped.
the Shesterkin save,
Yes.
which looked spectacular, and Phil was like, he knew Kucherov was going to pass.
And I don't blame Kuch.
He was anticipating moving over.
I didn't blame.
Phil said.
And I didn't mind the pass, but it was the pass Kachuk made to
Right.
Kuch that I thought was very interesting. I actually thought he looked good. Outside of that, you're right. I mean, look, and when we're talking about the star players leading the way, I just gave you a list of the star players who are out. So who does that lead? Who does that leave?
Point in Kucherov.
They
did
just
they didn't have a
play
point,
well.
right?
Yeah, they just didn't play well. What were they? -2, -3.
Point was
Or just-
-2. Kucherov
yeah.
was -1. So Kucherov had 3 shot attempts, and Point had 3 shot attempts, all on net.
Drew a penalty late, but that, I mean,
Yeah.
just didn't make the impact you needed in a game like that. Now, again, 82 games, you're going to put this one behind you and say, okay, I think they'll be ready to go on Saturday. But
Yeah.
in a game that was still up for grabs, you could tell They just didn't have it going. Kucherov with the passing, he was growing frustrated towards the end of the game when they were on a power play, and he kept feeding Bjorkstrand, and Bjorkstrand was either shooting wide, getting the shot blocked, or his shot was blocked by Shesterkin. Kucherov, you could tell his face was just like, geez, what's going on here? Radish the same way. His one-timers, I think he had 15 shot attempts. 5 actually
and
made
Bjorkstrand
it
had
on net.
17 shot attempts.
Yes.
Now, a
So-
bunch came during that 6-on-4, but still.
Correct.
We have said about Bjorkstrand, he needs to be able to get a shot off, and he was looking to shoot,
You know,
which is a good sign.
It is a good sign, but I think we're starting to get to a point now where it's like, okay, you're not Dominic James, a young player coming up here. I need to see some production here. I mean, you're getting paid like it. You're going to get some ice time. You're going to be on that first power play unit. We need to start seeing Bjorkstrand go on a heater, partner. 5 goals in 7 games or something like that. I mean, that's the part. If the other guys aren't performing, who do you look at to pick up the slack? It was Dominic James, a younger player, but it's also Bjorkstrand, who's kind of in that tweener. He's not a superstar, but he's been in the league a while, and he's a proven goal scorer. And he's got how many goals this year?
Yeah, 1.
1 goal. I mean, that needs to change. He knows that. I'm stating the obvious, but in a game where you could have used him a little bit more last night, and it wasn't for a lack of effort for him. He was shooting. It's not happening for him. So that needs to be rectified.
I believe, though, Greg, I don't think he's going to get 17 shot attempts every game, but if he is shooting, pucks will go in for him.
I think that's fair. I think that's fair. So, again, part of this is 1 game out of an 82-game schedule. We've seen a lot of these games over the years where it doesn't go your way. You're dealing with circumstances in addition to an opponent who's pretty good. I actually thought Shesterkin got better as the game wore on. I
think he was
you.
a little annoyed that he gave up 3 goals in the first period. I mean, based on his body language.
That's fine. That's fine.
And he responded. So, good for him.
Yeah, he can be annoyed all he wants, but, and that probably makes it a little more disappointing because you felt like Shesterkin wasn't at his best, and if the Lightning had maybe, I don't know, done a better job of dictating play or just put more pressure on him, maybe the floodgates would have opened a little bit more than what they did. Again, Sabrin scores a goal, Gergensen scores a goal. It didn't look like Shesterkin was completely sharp, nor did the team. The Rangers look sharp defensively.
That's what I'm saying. They gave up chances.
You wasted those opportunities there on a team, and they finally probably found their rhythm a little bit later on in the game, and by then it was too late.
So you use the word rhythm. I think it's a great word because the Rangers basically were able to roll their 4 lines. They're reasonably healthy now. Rempe is hurt, but everybody else is back healthy. Mike Sullivan is like, okay, I got my 4 lines now. I'm rolling them. Look, I'm not saying that the Rangers don't have a reason to complain. They were without Trocheck for 14 games. We talked about how important he is, but now he's back, right? So they're like, we're rolling our lines. We're rolling our 6D. We're keeping them steady, throwing them out there. We've got the lead. We're in a good position. The Lightning just put everything in a blender, right? And all these regulars are out. The D combos got shifted. We thought Moser and Crozier were going to play together. Crozier actually played most of the game with Littleberg, and Darren Radish was with J.J. Moser. Yeah. And then you're pulling Hagel out. So everything is getting mixed up because the Lightning went most of the way with 11 forwards. And you can overcome that sometimes just digging in and working extremely hard. And I think that the Lightning were able to do that. One reason why they battled back in the game in the first period. But they were missing some chemistry that we were seeing, let's say, at the end of October when they did have kind of a more set lineup. And Coop was able to kind of run things in a way like you had Gord, Holmberg, Gergensons, and they would go out and they would do what they do, right? And, it kind of set the table for the other lines. In Vegas, you had Bjorkstrand,
right,
James, and Gonsalves, and that was a line that really helped the Lightning drive play and turn that game around. And then, you mentioned the D. You're taking out Hedman and McDonagh. That is, a significant hole, that you're pulling out.
You're not taking out Littleberg or Radish. You're taking out your 2 best defensemen collectively.
Yeah.
It's not excuses. That's the reality.
But you talked about rhythm.
Else.
I think that was some of it that, things were not clicking for the Lightning. They'd almost like battle their way to produce rather than have things click into place, except for you did have Gensel, Point, and Kucherov, although that got mixed up a little bit too because the Lightning were down to 11 forwards, so some of those guys were getting double shifted. But they should have been able to click, and maybe that's where we're going with this, that, you know, on a night when the Lightning probably could have used some production from those three guys. Gensel did, but he did it shorthanded when he was not out there with the other two guys. They weren't able to help the Lightning offensively, whereas look at the top guys for the Rangers. Trocheck, 2 goals. JT Miller, goal. Panarin, 4 assists.
Yeah.
I mean, they got production from their main guys.
They did. And Shesterkin got better as the game wore on as well. And I don't know. Again, preface this by saying they're getting healthy at the right time. So this may be an interesting comment to make. I'm not sold on the Rangers just yet. I want to see how this plays out a little bit. But certainly last night, I think they also capitalized on circumstances that the Lightning were dealing with. And you know what? Good teams do that.
Yeah.
Good teams do that.
The Rangers don't have to apologize for the fact that they saw a Lightning lineup that was way different than the one that maybe we thought they were going to be seeing a week ago.
No, I don't think. I think you're right there. Why don't we get to some questions?
You know, let's touch on the Hagel hit.
You want to get on the
Hagel
hit
now?
now?
You had said that some people were. Look, I thought the hit was fine. I mean, I'll just say it. So when I saw it live, I thought the hit was fine. I mean, it wasn't fine because Hagel got hurt. And then, you know, there was a little bit of chatter about it, and I'm like, let me see if I can look at this more carefully. And what I see is, so Soucy is taller than Hagel.
6'4", right?
But Soucy shouldn't have to, and I'll use this expression again, shouldn't have to apologize for being taller. Like, he is the size that he is at.
Yeah.
If he's going to hit an opponent, he is not obligated to, like, get into a crouch. Mm-hmm. So what does Soucy do? Soucy keeps his elbow basically plastered against his body, and he delivers a body check. Did some of his shoulder potentially hit Hagel in like the jaw? Possibly. Maybe yes. I mean, the replay, it's kind of hard to tell if the initial contact is the chest or the jaw, but he didn't lead with that. Soucy is standing straight up.
Yeah.
And he makes a body check. So what Phil would say, you know, if you're Hagel, you got to be aware where you are and, you know, who's delivering a check. I mean, that's kind of what he said on the air. But, like, was it a penalty? No. Was it a hit to the head? No. I don't think it was.
Brian made the
Hagel.
point.
Hagel was affected because I think he lost control of the puck for a second, so he's trying to find it. And I think
head is down. His head is down. That's.
I mean, would you say it's
down?
Down? Like,
no, but it definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, Brian made the point.
So maybe
like,
what did Brian say? Because I didn't hear.
No,
what Brian said.
I mean, his was basically like you need to keep your head up.
Yeah.
But I think because Hagel gets low when he plays too, like when he skates, you know, low to the ground. I also think, to your point, he lost the puck. And I do think he motioned down. Then you're factoring in this really big guy coming to check you. It wasn't like he was looking to go high.
Contrast this hit with the Ekblad hit on Hagel. Ekblad leads with his elbow. Ekblad targets Hagel's head.
Yes, that was dirty.
Soucy does none of that.
I agree.
So the fans may disagree. I don't know. But I didn't have a problem with the body check.
Okay. No, I think that's probably we're in alignment there. I think the bigger question with Hagel, and this is something we won't know, we can just observe, are we starting to get into, is it kind of like Victor Hedman when he was dealing with some concussion issues?
Mm-hmm.
Because I will just go back, and he has overcome this now, Sidney Crosby, but you kind of held your breath every time, and it could take just a small check.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be anything crazy.
Crosby had a series of them, but he hasn't had one in a while, I think, right?
No, he hasn't. And I think I don't, we'd have to go back and look exactly like what did they do to try to overcome some of those things. But it is something to keep your eye on because, as you know, every every head is different and how they respond
Right.
to hits. And sometimes it can just be a little jostle,
Yeah.
at this point. So for me, that's what I would be concerned about for the player. And you could tell when Hagel was leaving the ice. I mean, he was upset. He was frustrated.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it was because of the hit or it was like, geez, can't I get a break here?
Yeah,
This is
that might have been
ridiculous.
part of it.
You feel for the guy. I mean, I get it. Greg says, as always, thanks for the show. With all the injuries so early on, it'll be hard to get back 100%. Also, why does Hagel have the quarterback from Miami injury
Yeah.
luck? Depth didn't look bad, just not on the same page.
Well, I think that they maybe didn't look on the same page because the Lightning did have everything in a blender. They did. I mean, you mentioned Kachuk was out there with Kucherov. That's kind of how they were running the lines.
Yeah, didn't look out of place.
Didn't look out of place, right? But it was just it was a tough game to begin with, and it got tougher. And the fact that the Lightning battled, they battled so hard, but they had some self-inflicted wounds. They opened the door for the Rangers to make plays. The Rangers did make plays, and the Rangers got some bounces. But again, this is not going to be the lineup the Lightning have for the next whatever we're going to see here, 60 some odd games. They're going to get healthy.
Sure.
It was not a good enough defensive performance for me. And,
Yeah, that's fair.
I will mention Destu because we talked about him in glowing terms, deservedly so. He finished -5. So one was an empty netter. All right, fair enough. The other 4, so the second goal I mentioned was not really on him. Like the pass, he's expecting a pass in the neutral zone. It's behind him, and Zibanejad intercepts it. So now he's in scramble mode to get back. He had to take that minus. And another minus was the one that Borgen shot that hit his stick, right? And went into the top of the net. So, there was a little bit of bad luck there, but what I noticed from Destu, it wasn't so much what he did with the puck, but sometimes he was positionally not quite where he needed to be, like on the Trocheck goal, which was, as I said, definitely more in Vasilevsky. I don't think it was a scoring chance, but Destu is the left D. He's more in the middle of the ice. So, look, it is not an easy assignment to come into the NHL when you never played in the NHL before. He's done very, very well, but now they're asking him to take basically McDonagh's spot. And I think, there were some plays where he wasn't quite where he needed to be. Now, some of the minuses were not on him. The second Trocheck goal, I remember like the Lightning as a group backed in. And Destu was kind of caught in no man's land, was trying to block the shot. This is the one that Johansson allowed. And he basically screened the goalie. So he was unable to block the shot and didn't get close enough to Trocheck to disrupt the shot. He didn't block the shot, and he was also in front of his goalie. So he had a tough night. I mean, -5. It's kind of hard to get around that, but I do think that this is an outlier game for him, and he is smart enough that he will learn from this. I believe that. But also getting McDonagh back would help slot everybody in where they need to be.
It always does. I want to get to this real quick tonight. Enjoy some Refrom. Smooth, versatile, and now pouring at Benchmark International Arena. Order a Tropical Wave or a Lightning Mule and taste why fans are switching. Refrom is a premium craft, Florida local rum built on authenticity, quality, and easy drinkability. Ask for Refrom by name. Go Bolts, and enjoy responsibly. EB says lots of bad bounces. Add that to injuries, and frankly, some of our best players didn't carry the team. That's fair. Fair analysis.
Yeah.
Kyle says can't blame that loss on injuries. That's part of it, though. I think you can't negate it because those were significant. Ray, I think that's how you pronounce it. I like that Coop doesn't take the team down. Best coach ever.
Well, Coop will be pretty frank if the team really lays an egg. Did they really lay an egg last night? I mean, 79 shot attempts. He loved their battle level. And he understood that this was a tall order. So I think that's why his comments fell into the kind of the category of glass half full. I mean, we heard the clip. He's like, did I like some of the penalties? No. Did I like some of the turnovers we made? No. But he chose to focus on kind of the pushing back against
Yeah.
the headwind that they were facing,
Right.
which I think is fair.
Lucas, my neighbor, says, I call that game the Greg Linnelli neighborhood walk game because everyone looked like they were moving with weight vests on, too much thumb sucking. He is right. I saw him for a walk earlier this morning.
I'm guessing that
tremendous.
you wear the
love
weight vest and Enzo is doing the thumb sucking. Am I right about that?
I should be doing the thumb sucking every
Yeah.
once in a while. No, Enzo's in the stroller, and my wife and I would go for that walk early in the morning, get that out of the way, and we see Lucas and his wonderful wife with their dogs. So
Yeah.
we usually, little tip of the cap to Lucas, my neighbor. But yeah, that would be fair. Mytho says one thing we can say is Gensel is still the GOAT. He's a really good player.
Yeah.
I mean,
You were singing his praises after the Washington game.
Yeah, he
Deservedly
was.
so.
He's been really consistent this year. I mean, he's been consistent. If you look at Jake Gensel throughout his career, he's been just super consistent.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's a skill to be really consistent because there aren't a ton of games or times where you'll see Jake Gensel hasn't done much. But, shorthanded goal, goes 5-hole, launches Sturkin. I
Yep.
mean, just...
Had another chance right at the end of that
Yeah.
same penalty, too.
Yeah. He's a good player. Great player. Havel watches hockey. Is that what we're saying there on that handle? Hey guys, is a Canada gold medal the price we have to pay for peace between the Panthers and Lightning? Or will this feud continue until one team is irrelevant and players have moved on? I think of the latter for me.
Yeah, and feud is one way to put it. Rivalry is another. Look, it's not a bad thing to have a rivalry.
I think it
last
makes it
year the Four
interesting.
Nations. So yes, Matthew Tkachuk and Brandon Hagel were on separate teams and they fought at the Four Nations. But Sam Bennett was on that Canada team, as was Marchand. They were teammates with Hagel and Cirelli. That didn't matter one whit once we got into the playoffs.
No, that is the amazing thing about hockey players. It's just that whether it's competing in the same country or they were teammates or good
And how
friends.
about Matthew Tkachuk and Gensel at the end of Game 3?
Yeah,
They were teammates on Team USA.
yeah, for sure.
Did you see the Tkachuk brothers are starting a podcast, kind of like the Kelsey
Are they really?
brothers? Yeah. Wingmen, I think it's called, because, Brady takes faceoffs, but I guess technically they're both wingers, so.
It may be a great show. I can tell you unequivocally, I will not be listening.
Well, Matthew is, I don't know how long his rehab takes, but he has a fairly
He has
open
some time, is what
schedule
you're saying.
until
Where's Brady?
until he's back. Although
Yeah.
they had said maybe December, and what are we, mid-November at this point? We'll see.
I will say, if
I'll
you're-
get an update on the whole injury situation when the Lightning head to Sunrise on Saturday.
I will be interested.
For the Panthers, I'm talking about.
I'd love to talk to the Panthers and Sens PR staff because those are one of those things you've got to monitor because if somebody says something and it just blasts out, that actually is an interesting situation because I wonder how many, off the top of my head, do you know how many athletes, at least in the NHL, have their own podcast?
Not
It's
many.
usually-
Current
it's-
players?
Yeah, current players. I mean, it's usually
Not
one of those
many.
things where you don't have the time to do
Yeah.
it, and B, you kind of stay away from
And
that
I'm
just
not sure,
because.
is this a league spot? Steve may know. I'm not sure if this is one of
I don't
the
know.
league by sponsored. I'm saying the league is kind of coordinating it because they have some. Nate Thompson does one through the league.
No, it's different. He's retired, and
That's
there's
what I'm
some
saying.
things-
But
yeah,
some of
that's-
them, like the league promotes them. They're kind of under the league's umbrella. I'm not sure if this one is going to be that. But
it's just unusual.
yeah.
Steve says not sure. Tampa Bay says throwaway game due to injuries and bounces, but what is the panic meter for Point and Bjork?
Well, for
I don't-
Bjorkstrand to have 17 shot attempts, that does mean that he's getting his looks, and his shot did set up the Gergensons goal. So he had a more effective game. Point is extremely snake bitten, and in a kind of a slump I'm not sure we've seen him in prior to this year in the NHL.
I know they've
Because
done
he's just
this.
not even getting scoring chances for the most part.
I think you need to get him away from Cooch right now. I'd try to go drive your own line. Mm-hmm. Why not at this point? You got some injuries. You can mix and match a little bit at this point. I don't know
Cirelli's
who,
close though.
Yeah.
So
but maybe even play Cirelli with Point. I'm just throwing some things out there because I don't want to say desperate times call for desperate measures, but I don't like the look with Cooch and Point right now. And even your best players, sometimes it's okay to break it up. John Cooper does it all the time.
Yeah.
The star players aren't immune to that, partner. So I would look to break those two up for the time being and see if they can get their mojo back. Point more than Kucherov, but I think it can go well. Panic meter is a strong word. I think when you're a guy like Braden Point, at some point you just figure he's gonna solve what he has.
You would figure, and again, are we using the word panic when the team had gone 7-1 in the previous 8?
This is more individual play because Point didn't do a ton during that time.
Yeah.
Bjorkstrand, look, hasn't. I mean, you're right. His job, it's very, very simple. It's to score goals. It is, and he hasn't done it. I think he needs other guys to help him do that. I don't think he's a guy that can just take over a game and, will himself to 2 goals and maybe every once in a while. You thought maybe the power plays where he'd get some of those easy goals because of his shot. Hasn't happened. So if I'm John Cooper, you're not going to be panicked with 2 veterans. I just don't think you are, but I think you could mix and match a little bit more and see if you can get those 2 guys going, particularly with the injuries they have right now to the team. Steve says, can we finally bring up Stahoviak? He's been having a terrific start to the year in Syracuse. He deserves his shot with the big club.
Look, I'd like to see him up too, but, Boris Kachuk was just called the Lightning's best player last night by John Cooper. So the Lightning have a lot of worthy candidates down there. Stahoviak is the center.
Yeah. I wonder.
Now, Kachuk played center last night. So they could have called up Stahoviak essentially Kachuk was at center because Cirelli was unable to play. I'll repeat myself. Do I think Stahoviak is coming up this year? Yes.
Yeah.
But I don't know that, he is like the lifeline that the Lightning need. I think the fans are just interested to see him play at the NHL level because he showed so well in the preseason. And he's a very intriguing player.
So this roster is going to look different, maybe even on Saturday. Even more so than a week from now and probably 2 weeks from now. You're going to get some guys coming back. I think if things stay status quo, I think you could see a guy like Stahoviak coming up and a guy like Sabrin going down after Saturday's game. I mean, I think he was brought up for that reason. Get him a game because there's some injuries. Okay, let's reevaluate where things are with this roster after, whatever we want to call it on Saturday, what that's going to look like. Because I think Douglas and Sabrin are going to play a vital role in whatever happens. And I've had some people ask me, how do you think this is going to look? I think it'd be interesting if John Cooper started the 4th line to just, do we want to just address this now and let's go? Or do you let things happen a little more organically and kind of go from there? As far as we know, Ekblad is in the lineup, correct? He's healthy.
The one guy I heard that might be out for Florida is Gadjevich, who is a tough guy.
Okay.
I suppose I can look at their last
But
game.
Greer, Ekblad, and Bennett are all in the lineup, correct? I mean, as far as we know, they're playing. They'll be there.
Gadjevich out 3 months. Thank you, Steve.
So
I didn't know what had happened to him.
I'm
actually looking at the Panthers' last game just to see who was in and who was out. So their scratches last game were Gadjevich, Gregor, and Balinskis. So
God bless you.
Bennett played. Thank you. And, of course, Barkov is out and Matthew Tkachuk is out.
Yeah. So, you could do this one of 2 ways. You could just start the 4th line and let's everybody grab somebody and let's have a dance and sets the tone and things settle down. Or it doesn't settle down and you have multiple instances where you're having altercations. I also hope the X factor is that Brandon Hagel is back. And if Brandon Hagel is back, how does that look for Brandon Hagel? Is he looking for retribution? Because we talk about all of this stuff about, guys want to, handle their business themselves. But this is where Douglas and Sabrin probably come in and say, no, we've got you. And let us do this heavy lifting. I don't know. But I'd be curious to see how things start. Alan says, I appreciate Coach Cooper and his optimistic take of not so good game. That being said, with all the injuries, the depth of our team needs to keep progressing like they have been.
Look, what Coop said was if they played that game again, he doesn't think it would finish 7-3. He doesn't. So I'm willing to kind of put this one game into a little bit of outlier category. And let's see how they look this weekend. Hopefully healthier.
Yeah.
I mean, I mentioned that the 4 games prior to the Ranger game, where the Lightning won 3, they were less dominant than they had been in the series of games prior to that. So, I mean, we do try and give you a fair, honest assessment of what is happening on the ice. But they were worse, for sure. They were worse last night in terms of some of the defensive mistakes they made that hurt them. I mean, it wasn't that they made a lot of mistakes, but the mistakes that they made were significant and costly. If you're giving up 6 goals plus an empty netter, even taking into account some of the bad breaks, on all of those bad breaks, the Rangers had a look that they were able to finish. So it was at least partially a mistake made by the Lightning, aided by, in some of these goals against, a bad bounce. But that has been a kind of an outlier game for the Lightning. They had a bad first period in Vegas, for sure. But, I think the body of their work has been quite good since they started the season with 1 win in 6 or 7 or whatever it was. So let's see if they can get back on the horse. They will be extremely motivated to play well against the Panthers, I think. But they're going to need to bring it. I mean, they can't get... Whatever we're going to say about Sabrin, Douglas, this, that, Greer, Ekblad, like the Lightning have a job to do. That's to win the game. So
you play to win the game.
Yes. So beyond anything that might happen from a physical standpoint, I think that the priority for the Lightning needs to be, let's get back to defending.
Yeah.
Limiting chances.
I feel like you can control defending. More
right,
so
but
than you can control.
They had a poor, I'll call it a poor defensive game last night.
No, that I think, to your point, I think that's the part that should be better. Whether you win the game or not, we want to see a team that defends harder and better and smarter. Yeah. Now, look, to be fair as well, you get put in some tough circumstances if you're causing bad passes through the neutral zone. And now all of a sudden the other team's going the other way and everybody's discombobulated. How many times did we see that yesterday? So, yes, they need to defend hard, better, smarter, whatever you want to use to describe, but their forwards could help them out too. Make the smart play. This cross-ice stuff, not right now. Alan says, at the risk of upsetting my 83-year-old hockey and Vasi superfan mom, should JoJo start on Saturday instead of Vasi? Your thoughts? So, what was interesting about this, partner, before you answer that question, I feel like Eric, who's going to be in for me tomorrow on the show, mentioned maybe JoJo tomorrow or on Saturday. And I have a hard time thinking that's going to be the case.
Well, it's a back-to-back, so you figure each goalie is going to get a game.
But I would think Vasi gets the Panthers, and there's just no questions asked here. Because Sunday's what, Vancouver? Who was Sunday?
Vancouver.
Yeah.
Yeah, Eric does think Johansson's playing.
It has been confirmed.
Saturday.
Eric Erlandson thinks JoJo.
It is confirmed that he thinks Johansson is playing. It is not confirmed that Johansson is playing. I don't know.
Yeah,
Vasi, just, it was one of those games last night where nothing was happening in a positive way for Vasi. And Phil didn't like 2 of the 5 goals that he allowed, certainly the 5th goal. But it was just one of those games, like guys were breaking sticks. How many times did the Lightning have a guy break a stick? Bjorkstrand lost his skate blade. I mean, like, it was just...
Yeah.
The stars were not aligned for the Lightning last night.
But what? But let me ask, I don't even think there's any question who starts on Saturday. I'm surprised this is coming up. And the fact that he was pulled in the 3rd period leads me to believe even more so that he's going to play on Saturday. But am I reading that wrong?
I think he's going to play on Saturday, but maybe Eric is going on a hunch. Maybe he has some inside information.
Well,
I guess I'll find out tomorrow when he's on the show with me.
He is the Lightning Insider.
He is the Lightning Insider, yes.
I would be very shocked. And I also said, to be fair, was this in the second, during our panel, during the second intermission report, we asked, the question came out, who's going to start the 3rd. I thought it was going to be Vasi because I said if you were going to pull him, it would have been after the 1st.
Right.
So maybe, it is what it is. I would be shocked, but I don't know. we'll see how that plays out. Dio says, didn't Point make a turnover on Rangers goal number 3?
So Point bumped it up the wall to Bjorkstrand. Bjorkstrand has it or is skating to it and trying to like bump it off the wall on his backhand, and Borgen pokes it away. So kind of, sort of, yes. But Point does make a play up the boards that it got past a Ranger and was it Gonsalves? It was another Lightning player. Those two players were tied up. Point was able to slip the puck through those two players up the boards toward Bjorkstrand. So to me, that's Bjorkstrand's play to make sure that that puck gets out. But yes, Point was on the ice for that goal.
So, of course, we're going to get this question with Point. Code Res says something is off with Pointer. He does not look the same. So I know people have speculated, look, is he injured? What's going on? The only thing I can tell you is that, one, we don't know. But if he is injured, I don't think he'd be playing.
And it's not affecting his skating. I mean, he looks as fast as ever. He had the one highlight reel goal in Colorado. That sure looked like vintage Braden Point. He just hasn't had that happen this year. I kind of go back to the confidence thing, which I know is maybe a cop-out, but we've heard enough from players who are counted on to produce goals and points that confidence matters.
No, it's...
I mean, he is snake-bitten, but he's also not getting the chances. And so that's weighing on his confidence. You had that one play in the third period where it was kind of like a scrum in the low slot. No one could get a stick on the puck, and he was able to get a stick on the puck, and he snapped it, and it just went wide of the net. And Phil was like, that's what's happening to him right now. Maybe in another year, he snaps it, and it goes in the upper corner, right?
Yeah. Sometimes it's a little off, and you've got to just work your way out of it, and I get it. That's where we are. Thaw345 says Dave and Phil are the best in the league. Yes, they are.
Well, thank you, Thaw. We do enjoy doing what we do. I am not under any illusions that, doing radio or audio, we have a smaller reach than on TV. I'm very glad that the games are on over-the-air TV now. More people have access to it, but thank you. We are still the conduit between screens if you're in your car or you're going for a walk or something. Hey, before we get can Dave read the play-by-play from the PD? I will funny. Do that. Yeah, I've started doing that. I counted 7 shot attempts. It was actually the 6-on-4 to the 6-on-5. He had a couple during the 6-on-5. Before we get to that, I just want to mention I saw this morning Larry Brooks passed away. It was a long time. No. Yeah, long time. Speaking of hockey, this is what made me think of it because you mentioned Eric with the Lightning Insider. Larry Brooks, I don't know that he called himself the Insider, but he's a member of the Hockey Hall of Fame as the Elmer Ferguson Award, I think is what the award is for the Foster Hewitts for the broadcasters. So he got the Writers Award a few years ago.
New York Post?
New York Post.
Yeah.
Basically the Rangers, but I think he had his eyeballs on all 3 of the New York teams. And very provocative, I'll use that word. Like, he didn't shy away from writing some things that might rub some people the wrong way. I think particularly when it came to some of the work stoppages, he tended to be more sympathetic in his writing to the players than the owners, which may have endeared him to some of the players. I don't think he did it for that reason. I think he spoke his mind or wrote his mind, but definitely one of the big figures in media in the NHL. Yeah. And he was 75. So
wow.
He and John Tortorella had some famous tete-a-tetes. There was one blow-up when Torts was still coaching the Lightning. They played the Devils in the first round. This was that series I was talking about in 2007, not the one in 2003.
Yeah.
And Larry Brooks was covering the series because, the Devils were in it. And he asked a question after a Lightning loss, and Tortorella blew up at him, and they just went back and forth at each other. And then, of course, Torts coached the Rangers for all those years, and so he was seeing Larry Brooks on a daily basis. So anyway, our condolences to the Brooks family, and
heck yeah.
I will use this word, a titan in the media world covering hockey, and very well regarded and well respected. And he's one of these guys. He had his sources, right? When he put it in the newspaper, it was not like throwing spaghetti at the wall that sometimes you see on some, social media account. He had done his homework, and it usually had some teeth behind it.
When was he nominated, or when did he get inducted?
That's a good question.
I think it was like within the last 5 years.
Was it that recent? I saw a picture of him with his award, and he didn't look like a younger version of himself. So you may be right.
And the reason I say that, I had him on the show after that. I remember having him on.
I didn't really know him very well.
Yeah.
I mean, we never really crossed paths. But I saw him around, certainly, and I was there for that blow up with Torts in the 07
I remember that.
playoffs.
There's some YouTube.
Oh, that's good that you had him on the air.
I do remember
one of
that.
our shows?
No, it's when I was doing a solo show.
Oh, okay.
And I remember, grabbing him and talking about that. I don't know if he had a book out too.
Yeah, maybe.
But he was an interesting guy.
I didn't actually realize that he had stopped writing. I don't know when he stopped writing. Maybe he didn't stop writing. I don't even know how long he was ill.
He is shorter than me, or was short. I mean, he was not a big guy.
Yeah.
Either. So yeah, condolences for sure.
All right, let me go to the play-by-play for this Bjorkstrand situation. All right, so Fox gets a penalty with 5:38 left. So here's the play-by-play, and this is the power play 6-on-4 to the 6-on-5. And I'll give you everybody. Yeah. So during the power play, Radish missed the net. Bjorkstrand shot on goal. Radish missed the net. Gensel shot on goal. Bjorkstrand missed the net. Bjorkstrand missed the net. Bjorkstrand shot blocked by teammate, so it
sounds like a song.
Friendly fire.
Bjorkstrand missed the net.
Bjorkstrand missed blocked. The net. So this is Fox is out of the box now. Bjorkstrand shot blocked by Fox. Bjorkstrand shot on net. Bjorkstrand shot blocked by Schneider. Radish shot on net. This is all during before the empty net goal. Bjorkstrand shot blocked by teammate. So again, remember, Anthony is they need traffic in front. They need traffic in front. And Phil has complained about that sometimes. He's like, Radish took that shot. There's no traffic in front. Just can see it. Sometimes if you get somebody in front, it actually hits the teammate. That happened twice to Bjorkstrand. Then there was an icing, and then I think the Lightning made a change. So I didn't count up how many. I think Bjorkstrand himself had 7 attempts. And a couple were on net, but most of them were either blocked or missed the net, and Radish was involved too.
Bjorkstrand blocked. That could be the refrain, and then that's tremendous. We should just play the game call, by the way, and just just play that for 2 minutes and had that on a.
And the off ice people, they're doing the best they can. But I wonder when I see this play by play, I'm like, that is a lot of information. How much they're not going back and auditing all of that like they are the shots, right? So. Take the play-by-play with a little bit of a grain of salt. Remember there was that one where I'm like, they got the face-off wrong on this. They said the Lightning lost the face-off. I'm like, they won the face-off. I forget the opponent, but Gensel jumped in the circle and got the puck. I'm like, that's a face-off win for the Lightning.
I feel like the last 5 years, I don't know when it happened, roughly around that time, I stopped looking at the stats because they change every period and they change every game.
For shots, for
sure. I just can't do it. So anyways, Thaw345 says Greg is feeling the holiday spirit early. Love it.
Well,
Christmas
Greg is
tree.
a very enthusiastic holiday spirit guy. Yes, for those of you who are watching on the stream. You're kind of wearing Panthers red, though, so I don't know if some fans are going to be like, what is Greg doing?
I'll get blamed for it.
Panthers red is kind of Christmas red, though, isn't it?
It is. Well, But I'm not on the naughty list like the Panthers are. So that's kind of the difference between us. But all right. So that's going to wrap it up for us.
That's like the movie Elf. Your father.
Well, how about
buddy?
What
Elf?
Some
bad news. He's on
right,
the naughty list. No.
Well, how about when they're in the mall and all right, everybody, have a big announcement. Santa's coming tomorrow, and he's like, Santa, I know him. And it's like. It's just you watch that. That's like a staple in the Mishkin household.
Yes, that is not every year, but fairly annual tradition.
Hard to believe. I think that was in 2003.
Yeah. Speaking of people who passed away, James Caan a few years ago.
Yeah.
Rest his soul. Great actor.
Sure. Yeah. Sonny. in The Godfather.
Yes.
That's always a good one.
Yeah, he didn't make it very far in The Godfather.
He didn't. Don't go through those toll booths.
Yes.
Had some problems. There's no doubt about it. All right, partner. I am out. I've got a work obligation tomorrow, so hold it down.
Enjoy your work obligation.
Yeah,
we'll
I got
talk on Saturday.
Yeah, we'll talk to you on Saturday. Then we'll be me and you on Monday, but Eric will be holding it down for me.
And the game Sunday.
Yeah, that's right. Saturday and Sunday, correct?
Yes.
5 o'clock game on Saturday. Lightning Insider. Eric
And we are
Erlinson.
pre-taping tomorrow, Eric Erlinson and I, because the Lightning are traveling to South Florida.
Okay, perfect. Partner, great job, as
too.
always. And I'll talk to you soon. Thanks to Steve Versnick. And thanks to everybody who listened. We always appreciate you guys. You've been listening to Power Lunch on Lightning Radio.